Welcome back to our new season of Unpopular People.
We believe that listening and learning from each other is key for personal development and success.
Today in our interview, Teddy and Gabi.
Teddy and Gabi are a couple originally from Romania. Today they live in Germany.
Teddy and Gabi have a really interesting story to tell, how they immigrated to Germany and also how they handled all the challenges that came with it.
They are a small family. They have 2 children, a boy and a girl, which are only 7 months apart. How this is possible, you can find out in this episode.
Or in their latest online projects that will be linked in the show notes. So stay tuned and listen and learn from them of their experiences in their life.
Listen, learn and share.
If you want to find out more about our project Unpopular People, please go to our website www.unpopularpeople.com.
It would be great if you would sign up for our newsletter and share our podcast to all your friends and family.
That would help us a lot. You could also just donate on our website on www.unpopularpeople.com.
Or check out our services that you can also find on our website. Have fun and enjoy this episode.
Hello Gabi, hello Teddy. Welcome to Unpopular People. Thank you very much for your time that you spend with us today and that you take this time for this interview as well. We're really happy that we can ask you some questions because we're really interested about your life story. We know each other now for quite a while, but I think there's always some interesting story behind every person, and that's what we realized so far from all the interviews we had, that it's really, really cool to just listen to a person's life story that we probably haven't listened to it before, and so yeah.
Yeah, hello from my side as well. Our first question is, where were you born and how did you grow up?
So I was born in Romania, in a smaller city in the south called Severin. And what was the second question? Where did I grow up?
How did you grow up?
I think, just like a kind of a normal Romanian boy. I grew up in the capital, in Bucharest, so in the city. I had one sister and 2 sisters, one older and one younger. Pretty much normal, good parents. Yeah, so I kind of grew up by default.
So I was born in Cluj. This is a city in northern or center of Romania. I'm one of 6 siblings. We are 4 girls and 2 boys, and in our family was a lot of chaos. With 6 siblings, it's always something to do, and my parents were, I would say, pretty strict. They had to be with so many kids in the house, but I have fond memories from when I was a child, and now as a grown-up person, as an adult, I tend to remember only the good times from when I was a child. Yeah, I like that I was born, let's say, in my family, or that I have so many siblings. Even though now we don't live in the same country or even on the same continent, I'm happy. I'm part of a large family.
So, Teddy, what do you mean by chaos in the family? Is there what do you exactly mean by this? And can you describe how was the usual day? How did it look like for you when you were like maybe 10 years old back home?
Oh, when I was 10. So I try not to say too many good things about myself, but I was a calm child. I'm in the middle. I'm the first child. But something was always going on in our family. I mean, someone would come home, someone would leave, someone would study the piano, someone would study the violin, somebody would play, someone would cook, someone would clean the house. And I think by the age of 10, my parents started making us do our chores, and we all had something to do around the house because we were so many kids, and we wouldn't have to clean the house. And I think by the age of 12 or 13 we had to start cooking, especially Saturdays. Saturdays was the cleaning and cooking day, so it was always come and go. I don't know, like I said, we all practice one instrument. So it was never quiet in our house. And the piano was playing, or a violin was playing, or cello was playing, or guitar was playing. So it was noise. But I got used to this, and after we got married, I felt like our house was so quiet and so still, and I felt the need to be around people. And I always went to Gabi's parents and to my in-laws and like looked for company. So.
And Gabi, what do you remember? And what I really find interesting is, how did you meet, you two?
Yeah, from my childhood, I was the middle child, the only boy. So I fought sometimes with my sisters. I think more with the older one. Then at some point we became allies, and we kind of sidelined our younger sister for reasons of music preferences, or just that we were older. Yeah, around the house, I mean, it wasn't that much of a chaos with 3 kids. And my older sister had always to take take up the fights with the parents when we wanted to change something, because she was just the oldest. So she would drive the change, and then we'll just benefit from the new allowances, let's say, in the negotiations with the parents. Other than that, I was fairly quieter. I was the one usually that was doing the work around the house. My sisters would just find a way to escape it. Yeah, and then but our parents didn't make us cook, I think, or I mean, we had to clean the house, clean our room together. But it kind of gave us time, especially if it was for studying, for learning. Then said, okay, then if you're studying, you can skip cleaning maybe, or just do it quickly, or do a few things, because they just encouraged studying, I think, for all of us. So that was our escape route, saying that we have to study. Yeah, and then for as I grew older, and then as I met Teddy, maybe it's better that I let her say the whole story, because she has her own more accurate version of it. But it was somewhere in the middle of the country. So I was raised in Bucharest. That's southeast a bit in Romania, and Cluj, that is hometown, is northwest, let's say. So, and we met somewhere in the mountains in the middle, in the Carpathian Mountains, while I was snowboarding. So I'm passing on to you.
Oh my goodness, such a long time. It's almost 15 years. So me and my sister, we had a lot of friends in this city called Sibiu. And every few months we would visit our friends there. And it was winter when we went there for the first time. I think it was January. And me and my sister went to visit some friends. And as we arrived at the train station in that city, a friend of ours had to come and pick us up. And we saw 3 guys. Pretty cool guys, I would say. They all had their snowboards and so on. And my sister said, "Hey, look, there are 3 guys at the train station, and they're pretty cute." And I said, "Okay, but they're strangers. I mean." And as we were looking at them, we saw that a common friend of ours came and picked those 3 cute guys up. And me and my sister said, "So it seems that these guys are not so foreign." So the day went by, and the next day we were at our friend's house, and we saw these 3 guys that we saw at the train station. And me and my sister were like, "Look, these 3 guys, we see them again." But we didn't interact. It was we just met, and they were busy with some other friends, and we were busy with our friends, so we didn't really interact. But the next day, the second day, we were in church. We used to go to church, and we still do. And it was me and my sister, and this guy, one of the 3 guys, came to my sister and said, "Hey, look, I forgot my phone in the taxi as I came here to church, and can you please give me your phone so I can call the taxi driver? And my sister said, I don't have my phone with me, but my sister has her phone. So I gave him, he turned out to be Gabi. I gave him my phone, and he comes back after a few minutes, and he said, okay, thanks, but the taxi driver didn't answer, so here's your phone back. And I said, okay. And I thought, okay, I will insist. I will try to send a message to the taxi driver. If he wants to return the phone, he can write on my phone, he can write a message or something. And that was it. The day went by, and we went to our friend's house to have lunch, and suddenly I find a message on my phone. It was from Gabi. After all, he didn't forget his phone in the taxi, but he dropped it somewhere on the couch at home, and he found my message. And he thought it was cute, I think. And then he said, okay, thank you for trying to help me out. Who shall I thank? And I said, well, I'm Teddy. I'm the girl from Cluj, the one from church. He said, okay, thank you. And that was it. I went to my home city. He went to his city, to his home city. And after a few days or after a week, my sister kept insisting, hey, do you have that guy's number? And I said, yes. And she said, give him a beep. Should I explain what a beep is? Yeah. Okay. So because we were students and cell phones were not so common in those times, giving someone a beep was like giving him like a really short phone call and then hanging up. That means, okay, I think about you, or please call me back, or blah, blah, blah. So, okay, I gave Gabi a beep and he gave me a beep back. And to be honest, it was 2005. So in 2005, 1 minute, to talk 1 minute on the cell phone, it was 30 cents. So it wasn't that cheap, and we were students and didn't have a lot of money. So, and Gabi gave me beat me back, and I said, oh, okay. After one more week, my sister said, hey, do you still have the guy's number? And I said, yes, okay, beep him again. Okay, what am I going to do after that? So I beep him again. He beeps me back. And my sister kept asking me, so, do you like the guy? How can I like the guy? I mean, I don't even know him. And after we exchanged a few messages, I think, I told him, hey, I think my brother knows you. Gabi used to sing in a Christian rock band. So I think my brother knows you. He saw you playing somewhere. And he said, okay, if you want to exchange some more messages, then here's my Yahoo ID messenger. And we continued our conversation there. And I think it took us 2 weeks. Yes, we started chatting on Yahoo Messenger, and there was a conference that was coming up in my home city in Cluj, and I asked him, hey, do you want to come to the conference? Oh, I think I'm going to go snowboarding. And he said, oh my goodness, but you should come. I'll think about it. After 1 more week, I said, okay, now did you think about it? And he said, yes, I think I will come to the conference. But by this time, he was thinking, okay, this might be serious, so I'll come and check out what's going on. And so after I asked him if he's coming to my home city, I told my mom, look, there's this guy that's from Bucharest, and his name is Gabi Verzia. And she said, oh, but I know his parents, because they were in the same community back then. And when our parents were young, they used to go in the same camps, attend the same camps. So that's where they met each other. They weren't really friends, but they knew each other. So my mom said, okay, you can invite him over if he wants to stay over when the conference is going to take place. So he came. He saw, he conquered. So, yes. That's how we met, and that's how we started having a serious relationship. At the end of the conference, we didn't really attend the conference. We were just walking through the city and so on, and getting to know each other. And at the end, he said, look, I want this to see if it's going in some direction, and I want to be serious, and do you have the same feelings? And I said yes. So this was it.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing this love story. What is very interesting for me is because you were quite young when you met each other. Like, how was this for you? Because if I compare it with friends and people around us, it's not very, very common that you meet in this age when you guys met and when you got married. So, how did you feel with this? Did you feel like you were under pressure, or was it just a free for you? Just it came as it come. And can you describe your feelings during this time? Combined with your age during this time?
Yeah, so I was quite young. I've had only one long-term relationship before that ended up a bit in a strange way, let's say. But anyways, I maybe had a bit of a different mindset than most people. I wanted something. I mean, I didn't just want to have a girlfriend just to have a girlfriend. I wanted to see if it's something that makes sense long term, let's say, at least. Yeah, I didn't say, next girlfriend should be my wife or anything like that. But that was the idea. I mean, if it wouldn't have been possible to have some serious relationship, let's say, if I saw, it doesn't really, we don't connect, doesn't really make sense, I wouldn't have pursued that if I wouldn't have thought it could be at some point, something serious. And actually, that's why I gave up actually another snowboarding trip to go to Cluj to meet. I was not sure in the beginning, and then some other friends went there anyway. So I was like, then I go with you also. And I just wanted to see if it's something that was worth pursuing or not. Yeah, so maybe that's not the usual experience or mindset of a 21 years old guy, but it worked for me. Yeah.
And how did it go on? So after you married, where have you lived together from that time, or what did you do then?
So when we became, let's say, official boyfriend and girlfriend, I was 19. I was 19 years old. I was pretty young. I didn't have any kind of relationship. I didn't have any relationship before Gabi. I was pretty new in the field. But I remember talking to my sister when I was 17. I told her I think I would want to get married between 21 and 22. It was just a thought that I just said, and it's something random. I didn't know it was going to happen. So I was 19. I just finished high school, and we were friends for 2 years and 4 months. I was still in Cluj. He was in Bucharest, and the way we were raised up or brought up in our community was that we should wait for sex until marriage. So we tried to respect that, and it was hard. As you can imagine, 2 years and 4 months. But and since after 3 or 4 months into the relationship, we were talking about marriage, but Gabi had to finish his studies, his university, in order for him to work and have a job and have an income. So we knew pretty fast, in the beginning, pretty early in the beginning, that we wanted to get married. So it was only a matter of time until we got married, so it was pretty hard. But I didn't feel any kind of pressure, because you asked if I felt pressure or something. Not at all. I mean, my parents and my family really liked him, and they said, okay, we like him, we agree, or we're not opposing your relationship, and they were on board with anything I would say or wanted to do, and they encouraged me. They encouraged me to pursue this relationship. And he proposed. He proposed after 2 years or something. In front of my family for Christmas. It was really emotional, and so of course I said yes. In the beginning I said, what should I say? But then of course the answer was obvious. And I was 21 when we got married. I was 21, and Gabi was almost 24 years old. So I would say it was young. I mean, we were young, obviously. Now, if I look back and think, oh my goodness, I was 21. If I hear about 21-year-old young people who would want to get married, I would say, aren't you a little bit too young? But I think there are some advantages in getting married, let's say, so young. I think you grow up together and you are more likely to change or to accept change and to be a little bit more flexible. Whereas if you would wait, like, let's say, too long, when you have your own habits and your own way of living and so on, it would probably be harder. But I would say, I mean, this is just for me. Other people probably would find it easier. But we weren't pressured or forced to get married, or it was just our decision. And our parents, I think, they were on board with our decision.
So yes, thank you very much also for sharing this. I think it's very impressive that you speak English so well, as you can hear, and but you live in Germany now, and you also speak German quite well, even if you don't think so, but we think so. And but that's not what I wanted to ask. But for me, it's very interesting to know, why did you move to Germany? What was the intention for you to come, especially to Germany? And so which path did you go to actually end up here? What happened, like, with your jobs, and what are you doing over here now?
So that started with me. We actually discussed about moving for 1 or 2 years in another country in Europe, most probably Western Europe, just for the experience of it. We had some... We tried it a bit with France, didn't really work out. And then I had a good friend that I've worked with pretty much for the last, I think, 5 or 6 years before I moved to Germany. And he moved at some point to Germany, and then he kind of called me, said, hey, we need another colleague here for a project that was similar to something we have done together before. And he asked me just, would you maybe be interested to try it out? And we weren't really discussing, or we even have at some point said we probably won't move to Germany, maybe because of the language barrier. I had some very basic knowledge of German while I was in Romania. Ted did not at the time. And then I just kind of said, okay, let's try it. So I sent my CV. In the end, it worked. So after some longer discussions, we said, okay, let's try it out. So we moved here. We had no children at the time. So that's how it happened. So one of my work colleagues and friends had moved here, I think, a couple of years before, and he said, "Yeah, would you be interested to try it out to get a job here?" And we said, "Yeah, let's try it for 1 or 2 years, get the experience of it. If we don't like it, we can always go back." But in the end, we enjoyed it. I think. I mean, everywhere there are pros and cons. There's no heaven on earth, not that I know of. But I mean, the pros outweighed the cons, at least so far, and we are still here. So.
And what was the most difficulty for you? So when I imagine I would go for a foreign country where I don't even speak the language and everything is new. Maybe there are also culture differences. So what was the most difficulty for you?
I'll try to answer this question. Well, first of all, I didn't really want to come to Germany, that's for sure. My parents moved to the States, and they after we got married, and they kept asking us, "Hey, do you want to move to the States?" and so on. And I said, "Not really. We want to stay in Europe, and try a country like a Western country, like Gabi said." But as we were talking about probably moving to Germany, I was reluctant at first. And I wasn't really prepared to come to Germany, or I didn't really want to come to Germany because I was working in the hairstyling, I would say industry, like beauty industry. I'm a hairstylist, and I had all my clients in Romania. And if you move to another country, you have to start from the beginning and so on. And I was almost becoming a freelance in Romania in hairstyling, and Gabi said, okay, let's try this. And after going back and forth with this decision, I finally said, okay, I will come, but not because I really want to, but because if we're gonna stay in separate countries, obviously our relationship wouldn't work as well, too well. So I will come because so this has to do again with how we were raised. Not that the woman should follow the man, but he is leading our family. So I said, okay, we will try your way, and if it's gonna work out, okay. If not, then we're gonna come to Romania back, and nothing should kill us in Germany. So yeah, for me, what was really difficult coming to Germany, I'm a really social person, and I really miss my friends and my clients, which became my friends over time. I really miss them, and it was really interesting. We started going to church here in Germany, and we were so used to going to church in Romania, and after every Sunday service, we would chat with so many friends at the end, and being surrounded by friends and people that we know. Here in Germany, after the first Sunday, we stood up, we looked at each other, we figured out that we know no one, we didn't know anyone. We just said, okay, let's just go home. What are we going to do? And for me, German was really difficult, but I managed in Deutschkurs, and I started learning little by little. I still missed what I used to do in Romania, hairstyling, but we overcame some of these difficulties.
So if you look back at you looking at yourself at the age of maybe 20 around this time, what advice would you give yourself for your own future, and therefore also for our listeners' future, if they have to face like the same challenges or similar challenges, like getting married in this age and also switching countries to a completely new environment? What advice could you give either yourself or other people in this situation?
Well, so when I was 21, so it was 15 years ago, I would have said save up for, I think, 3 or 4 years. When Bitcoin came up, just buy Bitcoin. Whatever amount, it wouldn't have mattered. Just a pizza value or something would have sufficed. No. So that would be also good advice, I think.
That's true.
Of course, I mean, there's always things you can do better. Looking back, I would have learned more foreign languages, I think. And that should have started even earlier than 21. When I was in school, I kind of always ignored French and made fun of the French young teacher. Yeah, so I think learn more languages and just kind of invest more in myself from any point of view. Like, don't just follow the stuff that you learn just in university, although it was quite a tough and a good one. I studied computer science, and I did masters somewhere between IT and business, so that wasn't bad at all. But now at this age, I look quite differently at education that I used to look back then. So then I would just follow the whatever curricula, the studies, what the studies ask for. Now I just take a different approach at education. I try to get a range or a wider range, not necessarily try to become an expert in one thing only, but understand how things work in more than one area. And in the end, I mean, you invest in yourself so that you can be useful to others. Because if you just invest in yourself, you'll just grow and then at some point explode. Yeah, so I would have probably looked a bit different at education and investing in myself. Yeah, and then always also how I relate to others and how I try to give back, let's say, to.
And Teddy, you said that you had some issues or some troubles in the beginning coming to Germany, and now you feel hopefully better of being here. But what advice could you give other people that have to face this kind of challenge?
Well, I always proud of myself that I was such an open person and ready for adventure, and but I figured out that I was more talking than living what I was saying. So I kept bugging Gabi and say, "Oh, you're not adventurous. We should try to go to move to a different country and so on." And I think it happens that when you have a dream or when you wish something really, really, really hard and that dream becomes a reality, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit different than what you imagined it. So when your dreams become a reality, it's not 100% what you dreamed of. So now that my dream of traveling the world was, let's say, coming to more palpable, let's say, experience, I was a little afraid. But I would say I think it was good that we didn't have kids by then, and we were probably more open to moving to another country. I don't know if moving to another country is something that everyone should do, but if you're young, and at 28, I consider myself still young, I think you should try things if you can try them and if they're healthy. I mean, not try drugs because you have to try drugs or whatever, but if you want to try that as well, okay, you can do it on your own watch. But I think it's good to try new things because as you get older, you might get more stuck in your habits and way of living, and I don't know if you get more flexible by the time as time goes by. And I'm not sorry. Right now, I don't really feel like I belong somewhere 100% because I come from Romania. My family lives in the States, and we live in Germany. So my let's say perfect place to live would be in a city with my family from the States and friends from Romania, but living in a German city. So this is something that might not happen in the near future, but I would say, try to have some experiences. And I think when I was 20, because you asked Gabi how he felt when he was 20 years old or so, I think I had a lot of fears, and I wasn't really secure, even with the way I looked and so on. And I think in my 30s, or as I turned 30, I began to feel more, let's say, content with what I have and what I am and how I look, or like my outer appearance. I would say less fears and more courage.
And when you look back and you think about your fears or your dream that you had, like, it will be like this and this, but then when you were here, you realized, it's a little bit difficult and different than I thought before. How did you find back to yourself? Was there something, or can you give an advice for people who are in a similar situation? Is there something you can recommend?
So Gabi had a good thought when we came here, because I found it so difficult moving to Germany, and he said, because I kept going back to Romania the first 6 months. I kept going back to Romania to my clients. I kept telling him I miss my clients, I miss what I was doing in Romania. And Gabi said, okay, if you want to try to go, let's say, every month for a week or two to Romania and meet your clients and do their hair and so on, and then you can come back. And after a while, after I saw that my clients were coming back to me, I said, okay, I want to move back to Romania. And Gabi said, look, if we want to give it a try, you have to put a minimal effort to try to integrate here and not be like half-heartedly here and with half of your heart back in Romania. So I tried to do that. So I stopped going to Romania to do my clients' hair. And I think it was easier because then I tried to focus on what I could do here and started learning the language a little bit more intensive. And I didn't really have time to, not that I didn't have time, I didn't have the opportunity to start working here. I worked just for a couple of weeks in a salon because then I became pregnant. So I didn't really experience the like working life here in Germany, but I'll start that soon. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, you already mentioned your kids before several times, and you just said also that you became pregnant. And now I want to know, tell us a little bit about your kids. How old are they? And yeah, how do you feel like having kids in a different culture, like here in Germany?
And how does your day look like? Is there the routine, or is every day different? How looks a day with Gabi, Teddy, and your kids?
So we have 2 kids, a daughter and a son. The girl is now 3 years and 3.5, let's say, or 3 and 7 months, and the boy is 3. That's a quite narrow gap, but I will let my wife explain that. And how does a day look like? It used to be quite different 2 or 3 months before. Now it becomes a bit more normal. So the kids go in kindergarten. I go to work. Teddy goes to language school for now, and then to work soon. Yeah, so that doesn't look that hectic right now. But a few months ago, that was not like that. Maybe I'll let Teddy explain the details of that.
So we have a daughter and a son, like Gabi said, and they're 3.5 and 3 years old, so it's like 7 months between them. And whenever I would go in public transport in Romania, people would say, "Oh, are they twins?" No, they're not. How old are they? Well, this and this. And they would give me this look like, how is it possible? It's 7 months between them. Is this biologically possible or not? And I said, no, well, I think not. But in our case, our daughter is biological and our son is adopted. And this is the reason why last year we decided to move to Romania, me and my daughter, and Gabi was coming back and forth to Romania. We wanted to adopt a child from Romania, and we had to be there on Romanian territory in order for us to do this. So yeah, we adopted. Christian is his name, and our daughter's name is Elsa. And how does they look like? Well, after Christy came home, it was hard. It was pretty hard. But now, as Gabi said, we are settling into a routine and things seem to be normal.
Why did you decide to have like one biological child and one child adopted?
It was kind of a long journey to have our biological daughter. It was, in the beginning we thought we couldn't have kids. At the end it worked. But yeah, long story short, after having Elsa, it would have been very easy to have a second biological child necessarily. We could have done it, but we decided not to go that way again. And we had always wanted to, I mean, we thought about adoption sometime before we had Elsa. That was still there in the back of our heads, the thought of doing the adoption thing. After having Elsa and after trying again to have a biological kid, that didn't work in the beginning. Then we said, okay, let's. We both felt it was let's say a door closed on the biological kids, and we said it's probably not worth to insist too much if it doesn't seem to work. And we said let's go for adoption. We had thought about that before. We weren't sure when it would have been the right time to do it. Teddy was thinking to go back to work after Elsa and then work a bit and then try to do adoption. Then in the end we both said doesn't make sense to wait too much and then wait for the perfect time to adopt, which would have probably never happened. And we kind of decided that in 2 or 3 months we would drive back to Romania and we will start the procedure for adoption. And why we did it? I think part of it in the beginning, it was just the thought that we might not be able to have our biological kids. And even after it happened, we still saw value in it. We thought it would make sense that we still had love to give. We like kids. I mean, sometimes it's not so easy to like them, but there's times when it's really tough. But there are times that you really enjoy and you see that things. I mean, all the effort and all the energy you put in are worth it. So it just made sense for us to invest. I mean, we wanted to invest in people and in kids as well. So we had love to give, and we thought it made sense to take one kid, whatever, boy or girl. We didn't have a preference. That was already born and that didn't have such a good start, let's say. Not because of his or her fault, and try to love that kid and invest in that kid and get some unique experience really of it for ourselves also.
I think you pretty much said it all. One of the reasons, I would say from my point of view, after I gave birth, even before we talked about adoption, but after I gave birth, I don't know, from time to time, I would look on Facebook or on internet and some news would pop out in my news feed, news that had to do with adoption. And I kept asking Gabi, as I was pretty young, she was a few months old, and it was pretty difficult in the beginning with sleep and all, but I kept asking Gabi, look, there are so many kids in this world and they have no parents and they have no home. And for me, holding Elsa in my hands and feeling so much love for her, and I felt like I have, let's say, more resources to love another child. And I think I had a soft spot for kids that didn't have a family. And Gabi said, okay, let's wait a little bit until Elsa grows just a little bit more. And then, I decided, we decided that I shouldn't start work yet. And then we would adopt and then stay at home with the kids for a while and then go back into the working field. So, yeah.
And how was it for Elsa? So I think it's always when you hear you get a sibling, sometimes for the children it's difficult. So Elsa was she knows she is that you are your real mother and father. And now Christian came, a boy in her age. So how did it feel for her?
Well, we tried to be open with her from the beginning, even if she was young. She was 2 years old, and we started asking her, look, you have cousins. She has 2 cousins, a boy and a girl. Look, and they are brother and sister, and we would like to have another child, boy or a girl. Do you agree? Do you think you would like? She was 2 years old. She didn't have a lot of, let's say, knowledge, but she's pretty developed for her age. And she said, yes, I want a brother or a sister. And I said, okay, we're gonna go to the adoption center, talk to, let's say, these people, and we're gonna pray. And we had this habit. Every night we would pray for a brother or a sister, and after some point she would say by herself, let's pray for the brother or for the sister. So we tried to involve her as much as we could, even though she didn't really understand what adoption is. But we tried to be as open as we could with her, so she could be, at least in theory, prepared for what was about to come.
And what is very interesting for me as well, because could you just give us a short summary, because I know it was a really long process for the whole adoption thing. It took such a long time because we experienced it ourselves when we were visiting, and Teddy, you were in Romania and you had to handle so many things, and there was so much paperwork to do. Could you explain, try to explain in a summary what you needed to do to get all this done, and also what advice can you give to others that want to do something similar? So
from the beginning, I have to say that I felt a little bit uncomfortable, because every time I would tell people that we would want to adopt, they would say, oh, you're heroes, and it might seem from the outside, but we're not. I think if I were to point something out, or I would say we're not heroes, obviously, but I would encourage people to think of doing something for people around them. I think we are really, 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 really fortunate to live where we live and have what we have, and I think we have more than we need. I mean, we could live with less, and I mean, I believe that I have only one life on earth here, and I try to make as much as possible out of it, but trying to give people around us a little bit from what we have was something that we both wanted. And I would encourage people not necessarily to adopt, but to try to do like little things, or try starting with little things for people around them. I think once you start doing something for others, not only for yourself, it gives your life, let's say, more meaning, or some meaning, or a deeper meaning, or if I can put it like that. And with adoption, I mean, if I knew from the beginning how long it would take, I'm not sure I would have done it. But like our friends, or like many friends of ours told us, it's better sometimes that you don't know all the facts from the beginning, because you might get disappointed, or probably not even do the thing at all. So what we thought it would take 6 to 9 months took a year and a half, and I think the hardest part for us was that we were apart most of the time. Gabi was still working here in Germany, and he came as often as he could. He took all his vacation days, took up to Romania, and so on. But I would say I was the main caregiver for Elsa for 9 months, and then for both of our children since January until now, in September, when we came back to Germany for good. And I think if we would have been together, it would have been a little bit more easy. But now that I look back, I think things do happen for a reason, and even hard things. They happen for a reason. I don't have all the answers now, but it was worth it. And I think Christian, he was worth the effort. And I wouldn't see our family other than it looks now.
Thank you for the summary and this wisdoms who were in this story. So what are your plans for the future? You live here in Heidelberg, and what is your dream for the next couple of years?
For the next 5 years, or next 10 years, next year? It's really tough to say. Actually, we kept asking ourselves this question in the last years, as we were uncertain if we want to stay long in Germany, go back to Romania, go to the States where Teddy's family is. We were always so undecided, and that was making some decisions even harder. If you don't know where you plan to stay, at least for some time. I can't say that we have a clear picture now. We have decided to probably spend some years in Germany, try to get some roots here. That's the plan for now. Kind of master the language, that our kids will learn German also. And then we see, I mean, today it's so much different than our parents used to live, where you kind of stayed in mostly the same city, or at least country. And now you travel the world so easily. Yeah, it's really tough to say what we want to do for the next years, or where we want to be for next years. I mean, kids are now a priority. Try to invest in their raising up, their personalities, characters, the best we think we know how. Settle down a bit, because the last 2 years at least were a bit hectic with the whole traveling back and forth and spending time together. So trying to get at least Teddy's life a bit back on track, or normal parameters, because I kind of had my work, so it was a constant. But try to feel a bit, or to settle down a bit, and then decide what's the next challenge.
Thank you very much so far. It's very impressive to listen to you too. And I know you say you're not heroes, and I think it's to use the word hero is sometimes a bit hard and maybe a bit over the top. But I think what you guys do is very, very impressive for us, at least. And thank you very much for your time. We are also getting to our last questions now, and we always ask our guests 2 questions in the end, which are very important for us. And I should start with the first. Yeah, sure. So if you would imagine you had your own school anywhere in the world, and you could choose the subjects the children would have, what subjects would you choose, and what do you think is important that's probably missing in the school system we have in our world or in this country, and how would the school look like? It could be anything. Just imagine what you would do.
It's a big topic. I would say what's lacking now, it's financial education. I mean, we learn how to, or things that we could use in a job, but then not what we should do with what we earn. That's lacking for a lot of people across all ages. And I mean, I haven't studied in Germany. I've studied only in Romania, or I haven't studied worldwide to compare, really have, let's say, insightful information about different education systems. But I used to learn a lot of information that I would then just forget after the exam. Some of it helps, some not that much. I think it's important to find a way to learn from examples, learn from experiments, learn from mistakes, role playing, I think, more. So yeah, in terms of subjects, so I mentioned financial education. I mean, everything else makes sense. I mean, you have to learn math, you have to learn history, you have to learn some chemistry, some physics, understand how the world works. I would encourage more philosophical discussions, let's say, that's about the view of the world, let's say, how, and in the end, why am I here? How did I get here? Why do I live? I mean, the risk is that you get then to the midlife crisis when you say, oh shit, I'm already 35, 40, whatever. Why am I here? What am I doing with my life? Is it already too late or not to ask that question? I think it's probably never too early. So let's wait and see. So probably school, it's a good time to challenge yourself. Not everybody will get to the same conclusion, but it's good to start thinking about it. That you just don't accept that. Okay, I'm here like everybody else. Who cares? Let's just see what happens next. It's probably good to kind of try to find an answer to that. Yeah. So just learn for yourself. Try to get range. One of my mistakes in school was that I thought with some subjects, okay, why do I need this subject? Why do I need French? I want to study computer science. Why do I need, I don't know, this subject or the other one, or Latin, or yeah. But as you grow, you see things differently, and so many, I mean, in taking decisions in your work, so many things come into play that you don't even imagine in the beginning. It's so important to have a range in your knowledge, education. It just really creates new insights that others cannot access without this range. So yeah, just get range. Don't just study some subjects to become only doctors or programmers or I don't know, language teachers or engineers. Try to get the range regardless of what you will end up doing. That's important. And then ask yourselves why you are doing what you're doing.
If I were to answer this question, I would say I'm not really a big expert in educational systems, but I would say a child is formed not only by the school or by the state, if I were to say, but by his family, mostly by his parents. And I would recommend, let's say, if let's say one of the parents is staying at home or not. If the woman stays at home, like in my case, I would say try to enjoy. I know it's hard because I always think, I gave up my professional life to stay at home with the children, but this is something I will never regret, because investing in a child, and especially in the first years of his life, will have an impact probably for his whole life. And I would say try to listen to your children, even if they ask 1,000 times why, but why and why. Try to answer, and the most important, try to instill in the child the will to learn and to be curious, and not to like kill his curiosity or his desire to know more, and to experience, and let him play or let them play and talk as much as they want. Because adults want children to be quiet, and then when they're quiet, but why are you so quiet? Try to talk, or sit in one place. And then when they're in school, but why don't you go outside and play? So try to go along with what the child needs and wants, and yes, have limits, but have patience and love.
Thank you. I think there are some education tips for the listeners, maybe as well. Our last question is because our podcast name is Unpopular People. So imagine you both were popular. So that means that you have that you imagine that you would have a big impact on other people. What would you do different, or would you do anything different?
Well, trying to be a better person or a better human being is always something that I strive for. But I cannot imagine myself being popular. What I would, let's say, try to popularize or make more popular would be the idea of giving. I think when you give, even though you might seem like you're losing something, I think you get more back. I mean, giving is not losing, but giving is always also having something in return, or receiving something in return. So I would encourage people to try to live probably not only for others, but for others too.
So fame is hard. There's a big risk when everybody looks at you, that you put this perfect or this face, this mask, trying to look or seem that you're perfect, and that you invest so much in others, you're so selfless and so on. I think what's important is to let others see your struggles as well, your failures. So if I would be famous, I probably wouldn't try to look or to seem or to project a different image that I'm projecting now, because it'll be fake, and in the end it will fail. So yeah, people will see through that. So yeah, just try to use the fame for something good if you can. But just one good thing that you can do with it is just show people that you are human and you make mistakes and you learn from them. Yeah, if you have some values that you think would be useful for others, then try to promote them. Why not? But just don't do it in a way that let's say in a non-aggressive way or on a non-sincere way. Let's say. So just use your fame to pass on the values that you think are worth. And if you are rich, then use your money wisely. Don't spend it on yourself. But other than that, just kind of be yourself in a way. Be the self that you would have been when you were not famous.
Try to add something probably. So if someone becomes famous, I think it's really hard to remember your roots or where you started from, because once you get famous or once you become famous, you tend to think, I have it all, I manage my life so well and so on. But I think if you try to remember where you started and how you started, and probably most of us started, had a normal start or so. And another thing, I think honesty is something that I will always cherish, because when I talk to people, I think even if they're famous or not, I think you can always figure out if they're honest or not. And trying to put on a mask, oh, I'm so well put together and so on, doesn't really work. I think we all have struggles, and I found out that even in our struggles, or in my struggles, I feel more encouraged by people who admit their vulnerabilities and are not afraid to ask for help.
Thank you very much. I have so many more questions, but I think we wrap this up for today, and we maybe have a follow-up session another time, because I have so many questions about your profession, and also about you mentioned so many times the music you played when you were kids, and I would have some questions for this too, but I think that would be a little bit too long today. So thank you very much for your time. We would also ask our listeners if they would have any questions, they could contact us, and we if there are things we think you could answer, we would forward the questions to you, if this is all right. And is there any other way the people could get in touch with you, or do you want people to get in touch with you if they have questions about adoption, or if they have questions about your community? Is there anything you want people to contact you, or should they just go through us?
We're not famous people yet, so we just have our normal profile Facebook page, but I think we both are open for any kind of questions regarding whatever people would be interested in. I don't know if we should give our Facebook. I mean, I have no problem in giving my Facebook, but if they contact you and then someone wants to follow up or so, we can always. And we don't have an official, like, let's say, page or so on, or something like that. But I was thinking in writing a blog, probably with our experience in the adoption process, and write every step. And I was thinking about writing it in Romanian and English as well. So that's a project that I will start working on, and probably then people could contact us more easily.
Yes, thank you very much for your time and for the great inspirational talk today. It was a pleasure for us. And for the future, we wish you all the best, that everything develops like you want and that your dreams come true. So thank you for your time, and from me, goodbye.
Yeah, also from my side, thank you very much for your time, and if there are any final words, you can add them now, and otherwise we just wrap this up.
I would say Merry Christmas.
Kids, stay in school.
Thank you.
Thank you, goodbye. Thank you for listening. We hope you liked this episode.
If you like our project, and if you want to find out more about Teddy and Gabi, you can message us on www.unpopularpeople.com.
On the website, you can also find the show notes to this interview.
Thanks and goodbye. See you soon.